Welcome to Plant Care for Beginners, where we dive into the world of houseplants. I'm Jan, and today I want to share something that I'm truly passionate about, which is understanding what makes our plants tick. If you've ever struggled with a houseplant that just doesn't seem to thrive, you're not alone. Today I'll be sharing my journey with my Ficus lyrata, or more commonly known as the fiddle-leaf fig, and some key lessons I learned along the way. At the end, I'll share my personal troubleshooting checklist that helps me to find out what's wrong with my plants. So let's get started. A while back, I had a Ficus lyrata that was really struggling. It was losing leaves, it wasn't growing, and I was convinced it had root rot. I checked for the obvious signs: a funky smell, overly wet soil, but to my surprise, it was actually too dry. This plant didn't show any signs that was commonly known for dry plants, like drooping leaves or crispy brown edges on the leaves. Instead, the leaves started turning brown at the base. This was a real surprise for me because this looked a lot more like root rot. So let's talk about some misconceptions about the Ficus lyrata. Many of us think that a plant will droop when it needs water, but this ficus, it doesn't really droop. So it's important to recognize that different plants can have different responses to stress. When your plant isn't happy, you'll need to look for signs such as yellowing leaves, no new growth, or dropping leaves. Once you're aware of these signs, you know something is wrong and you can start troubleshooting with a specific checklist. This actually leads me to my next tip, because when you're researching plant care tips for your new plant, you should always use the scientific name of your plant. Common names can be very misleading. For example, zebra plant can refer to multiple species with very different care requirements. They're completely different plants. So if you're unsure about what the scientific name of your plant is, you can match its common name to pictures online for identification. Okay, so here is my checklist that I always use for troubleshooting any plant issues. Number 1 is always watering issues. Has this plant gotten too much or too little water? Number 2, sunlight issues. Consider whether it's getting too much or too little light. Number 3, soil and root issues. Is this pot too small or too big? Is the soil compacted? Number 4 is pests and diseases. Look for any unwanted visitors or any signs of illness. Number 5 is fertilizer. Are you giving it too much or too little? By following this checklist, one step after the other, it can really help you to find the problem. And remember that patience is key. Don't be too quick to throw away your plant. There's usually something you could try to help it recover. Just be mindful not to change your care routine too often, because this can stress out your plant even more. Sometimes recovery can take weeks. Getting back to the checklist. When you're looking at watering issues, the first thing you'll want to do is to stick your finger in the soil. This will help you feel if the soil is wet or dry. If it's wet, you can typically also see the soil shine. If it's dry, any soil that sticks to your finger will very easily fall off when you wipe it off. Now let's look at number 2, which is sunlight issues. When your plant gets too much sunlight, its leaves will fade to light green or turn yellow. If the temperature is also high, it can also dry out the leaves, causing them to turn brown. If your plant isn't getting enough sunlight, you'll notice that it's growing towards the light. It'll look warped and it will grow to one side. When this happens, you could rotate the plant, but I recommend to just move it closer to a window for some extra sunlight. Let's move on to number 3, soil and root issues. In this step, I first check if my plant is root bound. A plant that's root bound will want to drop leaves and it won't grow, as there is no space for its roots to grow anywhere. On the other hand, if the pot is far too large, the soil will hold on to too much moisture and could easily overwater your plant. So make sure to pick a pot that's just a little bit bigger than the root ball of your plant. This way it has space to grow, but it's not drowning in the pot. Only after these steps will I look for pests and diseases. The reason is quite simple. Pests and diseases will only show up on a plant if your plant's already stressed. A stressed plant is a very easy target. When I look for pests or diseases, I take my time. Most pests are small and can be hard to spot, so make sure to check the stems and also look at the bottom of the leaf. And last but not least is fertilizer. This, in my experience, is rarely the problem. But if you've forgotten to fertilize your plant for a year, yeah, it will stop growing. So make sure to regularly fertilize your plant by sticking to the instructions on your fertilizer. Don't fertilize more than the instructions say, because it will cause root burn. This is not what we want. I hope this checklist helps you to find out what's wrong with your plant. I hope to see you back for the next podcast or audio guide.